What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. So for this horror trailer review and reaction, we are taking a look at the newly released trailer and poster for the film Fréwaka. So as you see from the headlines here, Fréwaka trailer and poster traces evil to its roots ahead of April debut on Shudder. So like we've talked about many times before when it comes to these dates, as far as release dates, this one is saying it's going to be coming and dropping on Shudder in April. The only other previous date that I can find linked to this film, it didn't get a theatrical release, at least here in the US, it didn't get one. And again, the only place I can find where it was premiered was during the Belfast Film Festival in 2024. And then since then, it's been laying dormant. Nothing has been released, again, at least not here for the US. So if anyone out there in the comment section want to let me know if it released in your region, let us know. But for the US, it did not. But we are finally going to get this film in April via Shudder. Now, for one, we do have a couple articles we're going to take a look at for this, just to make sure we don't miss anything. But this is a Irish folk horror film. And if you know, I am a big fan of folk horror. I'm a big fan of Irish, English folk horror films. We've been doing more and more reviews of these films, trailer reviews, and just follow up on the stories for these. They have quickly become my favorite subgenre, right behind, as you all know, religious horror, demonic possession, exorcisms, exorcists, things of that nature, which is my absolute favorite subgenre of horror. And then this one is in a clear second place. And if we continue to get more films in this subgenre, I can easily see myself having this surpass that one and take to be my favorite subgenre. But let's take a look at these article details. We're going to go through them fairly quickly, and then we're going to take a look at the official trailer that was dropped for this today. So up next from the Devil's Doorway filmmaker Aislinn Clarke is Irish language folk horror movie Fréwaka. A chilling new trailer has arrived ahead of the film's debut as part of Shudder's halfway to Halloween celebration. The horror movie is set to premiere on Shudder on April 25th, 2025. So we have a quick synopsis here. Fréwaka follows, quote, home care worker, I believe this is pronounced Shu or Show, I'm not 100% on that, who is sent to a remote village to care for an agoraphobic woman who fears the neighbors as much as she fears the Sidhe, sinister entities who she believes abducted her decades before. As the two develop a strangely deep connection, Shu, or Show, again, not sure how to pronounce that, is consumed by the old woman's paranoia, rituals, and superstitions, eventually confronting the horrors from her own past. Then just mentions we have the trailer down here. We have some of the cast that's going to be starring in this film, and just, a quote just about production, that they're excited that it's going to be going to Shudder. Who the producers are, things of that nature. So we have the trailer here, and this is the poster, which I think is an absolute great poster. You have what in this top portion, I'm sure this is probably going to be the main actress for the film. Blood coming from her eyes, but then it goes down to mimic or to portray, as you see here, evil, or every evil has its roots, as they have like tree roots or plant roots going into the ground. I think that's very well done. Very clean poster. Again, as you all know, I would prefer to have less text, so I would get rid of, like, from the director of The Devil's Doorway and a Shudder original, just have this little text here and the title of the film. I think that's all it needs. So here we have the second article that we're going to be taking a look at, just to make sure we're not missing anything. So as we see here again from the article, Irish folk horror Fréwaka gets Eerie trailer, poster, and release date from Shudder. Aislinn Clarke's feature is billed as the first ever Irish language horror film. We're going to come back to that because I question that a bit. So let's just take a look at the article details. So nothing new here. Eerie new trailer, April 25th. So that's all new. We just covered off on the synopsis or the summary of this film in the previous article. So nothing new there. Same quote, same production notes, same trailer and poster. But I want to jump back to that headline. It's saying it's the first ever Irish language horror film. Well, we reviewed a trailer back, it was a few weeks ago. It's in our playlist. You can take a look. It's called, the English interpretation is called The Ghost, and that has actually been deemed the first ever Irish language horror film. So it's going to be interesting as far as who's really claiming that title, I guess, so to speak. And I don't mean title as in like a championship, just title as in that having that title linked to your film as being the first ever. Because again, we reviewed that one not too long ago, and it was deemed the same. So I wonder what if it's going to be based on release date or as far as production, because yeah, March 5th, and it's now the 19th. So March 5th is when that we did that trailer review reaction. I don't have a release date at my fingertips as to when that film comes out, and maybe that's what it is. Yeah, that one, we had it on that one. That was still a coming soon film. So with this one dropping on April 25th, maybe they're just going to base it on that. Hey, whoever releases their film first will be deemed the first ever Irish language horror film. So, all right, let's jump over to the trailer and see what we got going on.
I'm ready, you must be here.
Look, her primary care on Shaw May.
You're aware the patient has mental health issues, dementia, paranoia, delusions.
I wasn't actually told that.
Kid.
Tuarim dal lai dagad sa Curtis piano so.
The clock to what Morphinos. No, I'm ready, you must be here. Walk to a good pilly.
Tá tú grím all ar tain. Tusa atá si the era.
So I think this is pretty interesting. I'm not sure, just pulling out some of the pieces from that trailer. So I always find these folk horror films interesting because they always seem to take place in these large homes, like almost like mid-level mansions out in the middle of the country, and there's always this old lady that just happens to be there, or there always happens to be this elderly couple that happens to be the neighbors, and there's always something going crazy with them. And in this case, it almost appears like the old lady is somewhat innocent, like she's the victim here. But then when you see how crazy she looks when she sees this mouse or this rat run in front of her when she's in a wheelchair and then stomps on it to kill it, and then we quickly see her in her bed, mentioning there's another house below, and then she points, and we see this cut scene, which I'm not sure if when she turns around and sees all these people in these hoods, if that's truly what she's seeing or if it's a cut scene of something else. But I mean, there's that. I'm also wondering if the main character here, we see her that she's taking some level of medication or several medications, what it appeared. And once we saw the elderly lady's back with all these scars on them, then we quickly get a cut scene over to her where she's looking at her arm, then she immediately takes her pills. And then she realizes someone threw all of her pills away. And there's a couple scenes where she might be hallucinating. When she's outside, she believes there's somebody hanging from a tree behind her. She turns around and that person is no longer there. So I'm wondering how much of this film will turn out to be hallucinations, some sort of evil entity or spirit, or if it is all, again, hallucinations and the markings and everything that's happening is self-induced, and they're just going crazy, right? Obviously, there's got to be something I would think lean more towards the some sort of evil or demonic entity. because the elderly lady having all these scars on her back. I mean, obviously you can self-inflict those types of scars based on, you know, what we saw there. She could always be taking something and flogging her back on her own. So there is that possibility where she's just going crazy and then thinking this is what she's trying to do to get rid of this evil spirit, again, or evil entity. But the fact that this other lady now shows up to caretake and she's experiencing the same things. So again, this is going to be interesting. I don't see this having too many jump scares, although the trailer is trying to portray this is going to be very have a little bit of jump scares to it. I think this is definitely more towards on the eerie side, more towards on the mystery. And obviously being folk horror, it's going to lean right into that, which some of the other films we have watched weren't necessarily scary, but they leaned really heavily into that, like Star of Acre, when we watched that starring Matt Smith. Great film. If you haven't seen it, at least in my opinion, it was a great film. The ending of it came out of nowhere. Didn't expect that ending. But again, I think folk horror films are very unique in themselves. I think it's a very special subgenre. Either you're going to like them or you're not. So drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about the official trailer for Fréwaka. Again, this is coming to us via Shudder in April. I think it was April 25th. Let me just double check that date. Yes, April 25th via Shudder. So again, drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know if you're interested in this film. We will be watching this film when it releases and coming back and doing a full spoiler review. Also, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.